Charles Gabriel wrote and composed over 7,000 gospel songs, including some of the most familiar songs in your hymn book. He wrote the lyrics to many songs like He Lifted Me, Send the Light, and My Savior's Love. And he wrote the tunes for many others, including Higher Ground, Since Jesus Came Into My Heart, Brighten the Corner Where You Are, and Will the Circle Be Unbroken. In addition to his numerous songs, he left behind a special treasure in his 23-page autobiography, 60 Years of Gospel Song. This little book not only provides us with the details of Charles Gabriel's life, it also gives us a brief history of the development of church music, a philosophy of church music and songwriting, and a challenge to gospel songwriters. I think you'll find it very interesting, as I do, to let Charles Gabriel describe some of these things in his own words. He begins his book by talking about the introduction of gospel music into local churches. 2 generations ago, the masses of the people had little to sing other than church hymn tunes and home ballads, aside from the classic oratorios. Soon thereafter, a new style of song appeared. It was immature musically and embryonic in text, but it lightened the gloom that shrouded a somber custom of religious service. It let the sunshine of joy into the worship of God, and finally evolved into our present-day gospel songs, with its pulsing spirit and awakening power that has carried it into every civilized country in the world. Charles Hutchinson Gabriel was born on August 18, 1856, in Muscatine County, Iowa. He gives a vivid description of his raising. I was born in a little shanty built of boards and plastered both inside and outside. It stood on the virgin prairie of Iowa. There was not a tree or shrub to shelter it from the terrific storms and snows of winter, or shield it from the blazing sun of summer. Our nearest neighbor was 1 mile away. The wagon roads were mere trails over the rolling prairies. By the time I was 5 years of age, a schoolhouse had been built 3/4 of a mile west of our home, where the boys and girls received instruction during the winter months when there was no work to do on the farms. We had Sunday school in that same building during the summer season, and to the present time I recall the pleasure I had in listening to and joining in the singing. Charles Gabriel describes how the Civil War introduced some stirring new war songs to the culture, and Charles told his mother that someday he would write a song of his own. His mother replied, "My boy, I would rather have you write a song that will help somebody than see you President of the United States." Charles wrote, "Those words became the anchor of my ambition." He began teaching in a singing school on his 16th birthday. Later that year, he wrote 2 poems that were put to music and published in a gospel songbook. Charles writes, "The next year I decided to leave the farm and go out into the world for myself. I wanted to go where there was music. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to write it. My mother, from our meager store, gave me $25 and her blessing, and I left home. After various labors, wanderings, and experiences, I found myself in San Francisco, California." Charles went to work as a carpenter while he tried to learn how to make a living writing gospel songs, but he was making little progress. He grew very discouraged, and he was ready to give up. He said his ambition failed him. He eventually wound up helping with the music in one of the largest churches in San Francisco. The church was having a special Sunday where they'd be taking a large offering for missions. They asked Charles if he would write a song for the occasion. Charles wrote the words, "There's a call comes ringing o'er the restless waves. Send the light, send the light." "Send the Light" became Charles Gabriel's first great success in songwriting. When people asked him how a gospel song is written, he said it requires both inspiration and perspiration. He said the gospel songwriter must live his song. Gospel songs, unlike secular ballads, must come from the heart, without one thought of reward or success. A secular song can be written for money only, but the writer who enters the sacred song field with one thought of financial gain will fail utterly. He wrote, "Poetry is the natural language of worship, and the only fit speech for music. It is easy to dabble in, but difficult in which to reach excellence." Charles Gabriel said that most of his songs did not have a moving story connected to them, but often An idea for a song came from a phrase that he had heard or read, which captured his attention. He tells of a godly Christian man who would get so excited in church that he would finally shout, "Glory!" He did this so often that people nicknamed him Old Glory Face. When Old Glory Face would lead in public prayer, he would end his prayer by thanking God for heaven, saying, "That will be glory for me." This led Charles to write the song, "Oh, That Will Be Glory for Me." Charles Gabriel died in Hollywood, California on September 14th, 1932, at 76 years of age. Christian, don't overlook the important role that music can play in bringing people to Jesus. Stay the course.